Hi everyone!
Hello.
So today, as you can see, in a different location with another face. So, this is my sister, and we're going to be talking about NaNoWriMo, and more specifically, Nano Prep. What do you call that?
Nano Prep.
Preptober. This is the first year either of us have done NaNoWriMo, and we're coming to it with very different outlooks because I am a more serious author in the sense that I write and publish books, and she just sort of writes on the side
Every once in a while.
when she feels
when
like
I feel
it.
like it.
So yeah, we have different perspectives. That's the word I was looking for earlier.
Outlook works.
So anyway, we're going to discuss our Preptober, how it went, what we did
Or
differently.
Didn't do.
So what did you do for Preptober?
For Preptober,
Step 1. Did you watch my Preptober tips?
I did.
Choose a story.
Step 1, choose a story. Okay, so for me, I'm doing a story that I actually sort of came up with and started writing when I was like 12. It's been 5 years in the making. We'll say making. And I have written probably 5 or 6 drafts of the story, never reaching the end. So,
I'm just going to butt in really quickly and say that's one of the areas where we differ in our writing. If she decides she doesn't like it, she just starts over before she gets the whole story. I always write a complete draft before I do any rewriting.
well, every time I come back to the story wanting to finish it, I read what I've written and I'm like, that's awful. We're gonna start over. So I've done that again and again and again, and I actually started it again in like April of this year, and I was like, I'm gonna do it this time.
It's going to get done.
And I got the prologue written. So then I decided, with Amanda's encouragement, to come back to it for NaNoWriMo. And I read the prologue, and I considered rewriting the prologue, and then I was like, no! This time I'm just gonna finish it. I don't care if it is the worst written story on the planet. Just gonna finish it.
I'm going to get the whole draft.
So that's the story I'm doing.
In my picking a story, I've already discussed this several times, but I've finished writing the 2 series that I'm writing and publishing right now. So I have a completely blank slate, so I decided to start a new series. So I'm writing the first book for NaNoWriMo. Yeah.
Okay, what's step 2?
I don't remember.
Brilliant.
Prepping your novel. That's step 2. So what did you do to prepare to write your novel in November?
Okay, so when I started earlier this year to work on the novel again, I outlined it, and I did character sketches, and I created a timeline, all of those lovely things. And I actually used a very similar style to Amanda's, so you can watch her videos on that. Do that, yeah. But a little different, because I'm different. Tweak some things that I would just work better for me. Anyway, so I've been doing that. I got those kind of done, but coming back to it now, I want my characters to have a little bit more depth than I did earlier this year. So I've been like really considering their backstories, what their motives are, and how they came to have their character qualities, which has been really helpful because it gives them more reality.
Now you have 3-dimensional characters instead of like little cutouts.
Mm-hmm.
Cardboard cutouts.
Yes, exactly. Also, a lot of my characters are slightly cliche, which is okay if they have a reason to be that way, but some of them don't, so I've had to change them when I've realized that this person has no reason to act that way. Like, nothing in their life has led them to be this person. Anyway, so I've been doing that, kind of sketching my characters, and I went over my outline and tweaked a couple things that I would like just based on research, because mine is a historical novel, so I've had to do a lot of research. So that changes some of my story points, because they're more accurate now. And other than that, I have been writing the backstories for most of my secondary characters. The thing is, so for Amanda, we've talked about this,
Yes.
but I might be portraying you incorrectly, so just tell me if I
I'll
am.
correct you.
But for Amanda, to get to know a character's backstory, she, just has to do her little thing where she gets in her head, and then she...
This is really descriptive.
And then she... Okay.
Do her little thing, and then
Okay.
she just knows them.
Okay, this is what she does. She starts pacing, and she, blocks out the world, and then she just sees their story come to life, and then she can write down the big points so that she remembers them.
That's exactly what happens. I pace, everything around me just kind of disappears. So I always have to make sure I have a clear path before I start pacing, or I'll just trip over everything, hit my head. But anyway, I pace, and then I watch, very vivid movies in my head of these characters growing up and what they're doing with their lives and all this stuff to the point where the story starts. And then I just remember it. I can rewind and go back to certain scenes in my head.
So forget the writing notes. She doesn't do that.
I do
Whatever.
make notes. When I make my character profiles, I will write a synopsis of their backstory just so I have it in case I forget. And also, it's easier to look at a paper than to be like, which movie was that in my head? So I do make notes. I just don't necessarily have to.
Whereas for me, I can have vague ideas about the characters, but I can't really see their story. I have to write it to know it. Except for, the main story, because I've kind of written that 5 times. But for the secondary characters, I had never taken the time to get to know them. So for Preptober, I've been getting to know them. Just writing their backstories, possibly in more depth than I should be, because it's taking a lot of time. Anyway, and then also in doing that, I've been just practicing my description, and practicing keeping my characters consistent, and also practicing writing more than 2 words a day.
That's a good thing to practice.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say I know I'm gonna lose NaNoWriMo. That is sure and certain.
Not gonna get 50,000 words.
I'm not gonna get 50,000 words, but my personal goal is to write every day for NaNoWriMo and just get somewhere. Get a jump start on my story. That's my goal for NaNoWriMo, and hopefully I'll get into the habit of writing so that going on after NaNoWriMo, I'll be able to continue writing and finish the story finally.
So for my Preptober, I've already discussed in previous videos mostly what I've been doing, but I am starting with a completely new novel. So this month I outlined my novel, I did character profiles for almost every single character in the story, which is not something I usually do. I usually make character profiles for my main characters, and that's it. Maybe some of the other ones who enter the story more often than people who are just one scene, but I don't do a lot of character profiles. But I did very in-depth character profiles for every character that I know of so far in my stories. So that was crazy, but it was really good, and I feel like it'll help a lot. Let's see, I did character profiles. I have a vague timeline. That's what I've been doing for what's this thing called? Preptober.
Okay.
Something else? I've been doing a lot of research, because mine is also a historical novel.
Mm-hmm. So what else? What are the other steps? That's only 2 steps.
Step 3 was to practice, which you already mentioned, was
Yeah.
to do writing prompts or just practice writing every day so you get in the habit of writing.
Mm-hmm.
Which you've definitely been doing.
I've just been working on the backstories for my characters and trying to get up to writing more words and being more descriptive and not sounding like an idiot.
I haven't actually been doing any practicing of writing every day or doing any word prompts or anything of that nature because I kind of already write nearly every day. And I also don't have any trouble writing novels from beginning to end very quickly. I have no fear of not finishing this novel in November. I will say I might not get 50,000 words because I am an underwriter and my first drafts are usually like 30,000 words, so I might not win NaNoWriMo.
Oh my goodness.
But, what?
How much rewriting do you do?
To be honest, I don't usually do a lot of rewriting. Here's the thing. With my Robin Hood series, the first novel was more of a novella, and I just left it as that. And as I moved forward, each novel had a little bit more backstory from one of the different characters. So the novels were beefing themselves up on their own in that story, so they ended up being actual novels by the end because of the backstory I was adding in. So with that one, I didn't have to do any rewriting. It just, there was extra stuff, so it just kept going. With my Finding Hope dystopian trilogy, they're all very small books. And the only one I actually did any rewriting on was the final one, which isn't published yet. It's still being edited. Because that was impressively small. So, and it also had things that were missing and all sorts of stuff. So that one I did a lot of rewriting on because I wrote it in 9 days. Woo. So I was kind of sprinting and missed a whole bunch of stuff. But that's really the only novel that I've done a lot of rewriting on is Queen of Caradale. That's the only one.
Anyway,
So that's my Preptober.
so on November 1st, what are you going to do?
On November 1st, I'm going to sit down and start writing. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write who knows how many words. I write really quickly because I write the way I read, which is super fast. So I'm not going to make an estimate of how many words I'll get done. Generally speaking, on an average day of just me writing in my different novels, I write a couple thousand words a day. So it'll probably be something around that. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just gonna write. I already have everything. I have my outlines, I have my timeline, I have all my character profiles. I already have everything prepared. So all I have to do is sit down and write. So that's what I'm gonna do. And sitting and writing is easy for me because I do it all the time.
On November 1st, I'm going to sit down at the keyboard with a mug of tea, and I am going to strive to write more than 500 words. And here's what I predict. On November 2nd, I will do the same, and on November 3rd, and then every other day for November, I'm going to sit down, look at it, and close it, and just walk away.
I can definitely see that happening. I'm going to try and encourage her not to do that, but I can definitely see it happening. So, in November, I'm going to be striving to make it to the end of November. Because like I mentioned earlier, I wrote The Queen of Caradale in 9 days. And with stories that I'm super excited about, I just zoom through them. So I'm going to try not to slow my writing, but to keep writing until the end of November. Because I feel like if I keep writing, if I get to the end of what I think the draft is, if I keep writing until the end of November, I won't have to go and do a lot of rewriting.
Yeah.
I'll just have the complete novel.
And don't necessarily like slow your writing, but take your time. Make sure that you're giving a scene the attention that it deserves.
Yeah. I do write really fast-paced novels, so maybe I could try to have a slower pace. I don't know. We'll see.
Or you could just do all your rewriting within November.
Yeah, as soon as I finish the novel, just start rewriting. I could do that.
Okay, well, this has been what not to do for NaNoWriMo Prep, and
What you should be doing, hopefully. I've never done this before, so I am assuming that I'm going about this correctly, because I've written, at this point, like 8 novels already. So, presumably, I'm going about this correctly. We'll see. I don't know. Someone will watch this video and be like, that's not how you do nano prep.
we'll be like,
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's time to say goodbye.
Happy writing, everybody!